Take me home, I wanna know if you're down, ready to go. Wanna fly away with you, float away, fly away.
Couples and past, of course, are gonna gravitate towards something like that.
Yeah. Well, I find, like, don't you think it's a little bit radicalized with, like, the pharmaceutical industry, like, putting it in, like, a pill form? Because that's
100%.
That's kind of, like, fucked up. You think about it. Like,
And we're losing all the best artists because of fentanyl.
true.
You know, like, and that's a most extreme version of it.
Aren't they like thinning out coke with that shit?
Yeah, apparently. Did you hear about there was like a female comedian and a bunch of other dudes who like recently they thought they bought coke and it was laced with fentanyl. Like all these accidental overdoses seem to be things laced with fentanyl that people don't realize are laced with fentanyl, which is scary as hell, man. I forget where I was reading it or I heard about it, but like it takes such a small portion of it to like basically kill you.
Yeah, they say it's like 100 times stronger than heroin.
Like, how scary is that?
Mm.
And it's prescribed.
Is it prescribed?
Yeah, right? Like, it's developed by the pharmaceutical companies. That's how it exists.
Yeah, well, that makes sense if it was developed by pharmaceuticals. I wonder, though, if you can, like, make that, you know, like, as like the cartels or something like that.
Oh, right. Like the budget, illegal
version.
version.
Like bathtub stuff.
I'm sure. Or just whatever you mix it with. You know what I mean? Like, maybe pure, it's different. But, like, so Prince, Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Like, that was all fentanyl, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And there's way more. They're not coming to me, but I think Michael Jackson was something else, but the doctor administering that was painkillers of some sort, like opiate based.
What do you think about that? Do you reckon he was like, yeah, we'll give him a little bit more than extra? He's a bit fucking weird.
Oh man. Who knows, bro? Like, there's many
imagine
theories on it. Like, you know, it's like maybe, you saw that doco, right? Like talking about, so I know a lot of people are like, no way. And a lot of people are like, yeah, he was.
Yes, way.
Right. So, man, maybe he was trying to like protect a bunch of kids. He was like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself right now to protect a new generation of kids that could be exposed to the dude. But like,
think about that though. Like, what if he did? Like, what if he was like, Doc, give me a little extra. I want to go out.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like when you're the doctor to like one of the most famous people who's ever existed, I feel like your arm could be pulled a little bit. You know what I mean? He was probably like, oh, this is risky, but dude wants it.
He's Michael Jackson, dude.
Yeah.
If he wants something, he's getting. Remember, he went shopping, and he fucking rented out the whole shopping center, and there was like fucking.
I remember that doco.
He hired people to be standing and shop, and they weren't allowed to look at him. Did you know that? Yeah, dude.
I remember the doc where he's walking through like an art gallery and he's like, I'll take that and that and that. And like, it's like, bro.
Imagine having that much money. But apparently he was broke.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting, man. It's like, you really live to your means, right? And if you're financially uneducated, unintelligent, you're going to fuck it up. No matter how much you've got.
True. Good point.
Seemingly.
Yeah. But I don't know if the tax department was after you that bad, right? And you're like, oh shit, I've got all this trauma from my dad and stuff, right? And the doctor's like, hey, we've had you on this pain medication. How do you feel? Doc, I feel like I'm living on a cloud. Can I have a little bit more? Right? Because it takes the pain away.
It's hard to say no to that voice.
Yeah, right.
It's so like gentle.
If you say Shimona, I'll do it. Oh man. Oh shit. Should we keep that in? Yeah. Fuck yes. Happy days. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roadshow. I'm your host, Jacob Rhodes. this evening I've been graced with fucking lovely company by Mr. Poet himself, Marksman Lloyd.
What's up, man?
Dude, your stuff. Oh, you got a song dropping today, don't you?
Last week.
Last Friday. Last Friday.
Yep.
Is it the video that's going today?
The video, we just finished shooting yesterday. So the video will drop in probably 3 weeks. But the song, The Water 2.0, featuring Jeswon from the Thundamentals and Marley Jose and
Nice.
Solomon Pitt, that dropped last week.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Check it out, man.
Dude, I've got to listen to it.
Mm.
Fuck. I thought it was coming out today.
No. Dropped a week ago.
Nice.
And yeah, it was actually a re-release, man. So I released the original version just with just one last year. But I felt like it wasn't where it needed to be as a song. I kind of felt like when I dropped it at the time, I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy in, and I was in a place in my life I wasn't very happy in, and it felt like the bare minimum. Like Just One delivered such an amazing verse, and I just felt like my contribution to it wasn't as authentic as his was. And I was like, man, I could do so much better with this. And so I pulled it down off all the streaming platforms and re-released it last week. Added a verse from Marley, who's dope, and changed my verse, and it just felt like it was a more honest expression of where I'm at right now. Changed the chorus as well.
So what was it that, like, was it you just didn't feel like you had enough of yourself in it?
It just felt like I was phoning it in.
Right.
It was like poppy. It was fine. You know what I mean? Like it was catchy enough, but I wasn't stoked with it. I was like, cool, here's something to release. And you should never release something from that position.
Yeah.
I think, especially when you're independent and you've got every choice. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to adhere to anyone's requests or guidelines or timeline or whatever. It's all in my hands. So why am I releasing something that I don't feel 100% about? So I was like, fuck that. I can do what I want. Pull it down, rework it, and re-release it. Which is the beauty of being independent, right? Like the ball's in your court. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times independent artists, they follow the structure of major labels. They're like, okay, this is what it looks like to release a single, then you release a clip or whatever. But when you're independent, you can do whatever you want. Like when I put out a film clip, Gene Simmons, a song that came out in 2018. I put out the film clip, 2017. I put out the film clip a year after it dropped because why not? There's no rules, you know what I mean?
That's cool.
And that's a good realization to have because there's no parameters then. There's no boundaries to what you can do. Like, yeah, you can release a film clip a year after because there's no label being like, oh no, that track's old, you shouldn't do that, you should work on something. It's like, no, I feel like that track's still got legs. And you know what was interesting is that track specifically, releasing the clip a year later, it gave new life to the song and got rotation on MTV Australia and New Zealand and MTV Asia, and all of a sudden a track that did well on Spotify is now doing well in another sphere. And it's like, yeah, you can do what you want, man. You can create how you want.
That's cool insight, like really interesting insight, because we do adhere to the label standards.
Yeah, because everyone looks at that, they're like, okay, they're the professionals, they must know how to work it. But man, they're trying to, that's a completely different ball game. They're trying to recoup and meet budgets, and of course they've got their rollout structure, and I'm sure it works well for however they do it. But the realization that there's no rules when you're in charge is really freeing because you can do what you want.
Yeah.
You can kind of recreate, I mean, man, just do what you want, really. You can do what you want.
So what's something that you've done apart from obviously the year, like, because your music is fucking amazing, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Like from the stuff that I've heard, not Water 2.0, because like I imagine it's like the other stuff. It's fucking raw.
Yeah, the Water 2.0 is pretty anthemic. Like it's a big song, kind of like Dreamers almost, or some of the other stuff that's like really, it's like stadium type music,
I like it.
Yeah.
So like almost like Muse kind of full on.
Yeah, I forget. Kanye's got a song where he's like, he talks about the fact it's stadium hip hop, and I like that idea. It's like you're thinking about playing on massive stages, even when you're not. And it's just a big song. I like those kind of songs. I like those like inspired and themic, really big sounding songs. You know, and it's very. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, it can verge into the cheesy territory or whatever. But I'm like, fuck that, man. Everyone's cheesy. Everyone's trying to present an image. Everyone's trying to like, yeah, fuck it. I really like those big anthemic songs.
So what inspires
Queen.
you with your music? Like, do you come from like a background of like straight up hip hop, that like artists that inspire you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do, man. Like I got into hip hop when I was 13. Tupac was
Nice.
my first muse.
Excellent.
And still to this day, man, like I feel like Tupac is a good first find
Yeah.
delving into the genre. You know what I mean? Because he was so larger than life. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason, like, you know, he's not the most technical rapper, but he's still in everyone's top 5 is because he was like a hero. You know what I mean? He was multifaceted and almost like at war with himself. Like he'd make a song like Keep Your Head Up, Brenda's Got a Baby.
Ooh,
And then like
tune.
you know, in the same breath it's like fuck these bitches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was
very empowering.
he was honest.
Yeah.
He let it all hang out.
Mm.
And then, you know, growing up with a mother who was a Black Panther and
Yeah.
growing up as
and a drug addict.
And a drug addict, and growing up attending Baltimore Performing Arts School.
Did
He was like he did ballet and stuff, bro. Like he was
That's
really into
right.
the arts, yeah. And very well read as well, very intelligent. But then like born in New York, moving to Baltimore, then moving out to the West Coast, and kind of like, you know, that's when that whole persona kind of developed, and he became the Tupac everyone knows. There's such a like folklore almost to his life. You know what I mean?
word.
Like you look at his life and it's like, wow, like this is
He created history.
mythological.
Right?
Yeah, he did, man. And then forever young. You die at 25, you're forever young. Cemented in history. So, you know, obviously when I discovered him, he'd already passed and it was a lot further in the future, but it was like, wow, this is so powerful. And then just been obsessed with his story and studying every documentary and, you know, all those rumors that existed that he faked his death. And I was so entrenched in the like
I just got goosebumps.
gospel of Tupac.
I love that story.
Yeah,
he could
man.
still be alive. Oof.
And people don't even like, a lot of people would be like, because obviously people compare him and Biggie and they'll be like, Biggie was a better rapper. I don't know, bro. Like I go back and listen, and like in terms of multi-syllables and stuff, like he understood multi-syllabic structure in rap. And yeah, Biggie was probably more in the pocket. Like Biggie's flow was undeniable. Like he just sounded like butter on a beat. But Tupac, in terms of passion and the way he pronounced everything, like, man, it's pretty undeniable. Granted, I think like probably later on in his career, you know, he was so prolific, like he was in the studio all the time. And I think, you know, the running jokes is like he repeated a lot of kind of ideas and phrases, like
Everybody does that.
Hennessy, my
Yeah.
enemies,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was very like you can almost you can predict a few Tupac lines, but bro, like he was kind of like once in a generation type artist.
And I feel like what makes that story of him being like maybe he faked his death so, I guess, riveting is like we didn't see him with the full development of his prefrontal cortex, right? Like he hadn't progressed further than 25.
It seemed like he had because he was so beyond his
Yes,
years.
Yeah.
He seemed older than 25. Like even now, I think of Tupac, I'm like, wow, like 25, man. That's nuts.
right.
A lot of people don't get stuck. Jay-Z blew up when he was 26.
Yeah.
Like imagine if Tupac had Jay-Z's 52 or something and still, you know, like debatably the greatest MC to ever like on everyone's top 5 and still relevant, right? I wonder what Tupac would have had if he had the next 25 years of his life. What he would have been and what he would have meant to the culture and what he would have cemented for himself and just for the culture at large.
I guess the kind of beautiful thing that he left behind was the fact that he did create so much in such little time, and that left it open for like the rest of the world to catch on to that theme.
Yeah.
Like if he had progressed further in his music, I wonder how the hip hop scene would look today.
There would be I mean, his footprint is undeniable, right?
Yeah.
So it goes without saying that if he continued, that footprint would have continued. Like it would have changed things, I think.
Yeah.
What's eerie about it is, you know, that he saw it coming. I mean, you listen to like the Machiavelli record or whatnot. Like there was a very eerie kind of acknowledgement, realization that he knew that
Imminence.
it was going to happen. He wasn't going to last. And that's why he was so prolific, and he was so like, let's get this done, let's do this. Which adds to the folklore, I think. There's like something spiritual about it almost.
Yeah.
You know, beyond this realm. It's like he saw something prophetic in a way.
Yeah.
Prophetic. And in a way that was about his own death. Like, man, to kind of like, it's like self-sacrificial almost. Like he saw it coming. You know, anyone who felt like me pursuing this path, doing what I'm doing, this might be my demise, but I'm still going to pursue it anyway. There's like a self-sacrifice to that. That's, you listen to Changes and you really feel it, because this is a dude who's like, this path, this journey could very well be the end of me, but I believe in it that much that I'm going to pursue it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why those songs hit so hard, because
When did he, we'll full circle back into what inspires you, but when did he come to fruition? Was it just after like the NWA and all that kind of stuff?
So it was Digital Underground. He was like a roadie and a backup dancer, performer, vocalist for Digital Underground. So Shock G, who passed away a couple of years ago, they were like a I'm pretty sure Californian hip hop group in the like 1990, 1991.
Right. So like
really
Compton
big in
bass, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He got his start with them and kind of springboarded from there. But even like you watch an interview with Shock G and he'll talk about like the fact that Tupac he was going to be something. Like even back then he was like so sure of himself.
He was
like
undeniable.
Yeah, exactly. He was gonna cement himself as someone to be watched, noticed.
Do you feel that way about yourself?
No.
No.
No, man, not at all. I wish I did. You know, and I think that...
Appreciate the honesty, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is, but I know what the model looks like. Like I've seen that. I aspire to that. That's not my natural inclination. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm a shy, introverted person, but I know it's almost like I've had people show me what it looks like to not be that way. Like what it looks like to pursue your dream no matter what the cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for a shy, introverted boy from Perth, like the backwaters of the most isolated place on the planet,
Yeah.
to, in my pivotal years, the 12, 13, 14, be like studying, and I mean that, like studying someone like Tupac.
I can tell.
It's like, wow, this is what it looks like to not be that way.
Right.
It was so inspiring, man, because like I'm the one that wouldn't speak up in class, and girls talk to me and I go red in the face. And all of a sudden there's this dude that's like, fuck bitches, get my just it was like, man, holy shit. You could be like that, and it wasn't necessarily the sentiment, it was more the confidence. You know what I mean? Like confidence to like be who you are. And our lives couldn't be further apart. Like I'm not trying to liken, you know, who I was to who he was or anything, but it was more like it was a superhero to me, bro.
But he was human as well. So
yeah,
that's
and you saw his
relatable.
flaws. It was like he's not inauthentic. Like in his music, he'd let the negativity show as well. It was like, here is everything. I'm gonna put this on the line. You can be the judge. And I remember watching an interview where he was like, because people were accusing him of kind of like propagating violence and misogyny and whatnot in his lyrics, and he was like, I'm a journalist, man. I'm reflecting the environment I grew up in, And
It's a good way to look at it.
I mean, there's a truth to that, bro. And I still think the responsibility is on the person. Like, I don't think at a certain point you have to choose to be a good person. Meaning, like, you can't justify all your actions based on where you grew up. Like, a serial killer can't be like, yeah, I kill people because I grew up in a shitty place. Like, you know, you're gonna get the death sentence. You're gonna go to prison.
Yeah.
You can't justify shittiness. But there's a truth to I'm reflecting the environment that I grow up in. Like, I'm showing the world this is what it's like.
Yeah.
At this point.
And it's an art form that everyone can be like, it's got groove to it.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah. And nuance, and I mean, bro, just a recipe for world domination, really. Right? Like, undeniable. Heartfelt, gangster, alpha male, like someone you look to as a leader.
Yeah.
Then who's also like got this really sensitive, poetic side. Like,
He did, right?
I was hooked, man. It's so I say all that to say, like, for someone who was trying to find their voice, it's like, wow, hip hop seems like a place where you can find your voice. And I started off trying to write gangster raps. Like, when you read my raps from like 12, 13, 14, it was like,
Fuck bitches.
pull my motherfucking 9 on it. Like, you know, just ridiculous bullshit.
Yeah.
But I got jumped in year 10 by about 15 dudes. And that was like, that knocked some sense into me, quite literally, where I was like, man, I'm no gangster rapper. And I kind of found my own, like, I started using lyrics as therapy. I started talking about what I was going through, what I was feeling. Like, that incident put me into I was already introverted and shy, but that put me into a very hermit-like state where I didn't want to leave the house. And I was just sitting in my room, listening to hip hop, writing raps, you know, and finding my own voice, because I was like, after that happened, I remember like looking at my lyrics, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm not this person. You know what I mean? I got jumped by like a bunch of people that I thought were my mates. Like, and these were like, so I grew up north. This was like
kids.
Joondalup train station type situation.
Right.
Anyone who knows. And yeah, it just was a real like wake up kind of moment where I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not this person. I'm
you weren't the persona that you were trying to portray.
exactly, man. Like, I was kind of trying to like fake it and act that out, but I was like, no, this isn't real. And you know, you've heard that theory about 10,000 hours, right? Like, it takes 10,000 hours to master your craft. Like, the last 3 years of high school, for the most part, I didn't really want to leave my house. Like, I would every now and then. Like, I'd go to a random party or hang out with friends every now and then. But I was so scared that I'd run into these guys again or run into a similar situation that I'd stay at home. And at the time, I got into a lot of underground hip hop, Jurassic 5, Black Alicious, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, like all these artists that were like really just deadly with the pen, you know, Charlie Tuna, like multi-syllabic structure. Mos Def, just that cadence, that flow, that smoothness on the beat. Talib Kweli was just so intelligent, well-read, and you know, it was almost like he just was trying to get out everything he knew on the beat. And I was like, holy shit, this is mind-blowing. And I just studied it, bro. And I would sit there and write. And the only place that I was comfortable going were these hip-hop workshops that ran every Tuesday and Thursday after school. It was like 4 to 6 or something.
Was it at the school?
No, it was at a Edgewater club rooms and Warwick club rooms. Where
Is that like a YMCA kind of thing?
Footy club rooms. So
right.
Yeah, so the city of Joondalup ran one, and the city of
cool.
Warwick or whatever wherever Warwick is.
Were you like the only white kid there?
No, man, no. It was like I was the only rapper there though.
Okay.
And the guy that ran it wrote raps as well. He was older than me, like 10 years older, but he wrote raps, and so he taught me about like writing to bar, like to a
beat.
Yeah, to a beat, and he taught me about freestyling. And I would just, it's funny, man, because I was so shy, but I was so sure about rap that I would just get up and try, which was so, I wouldn't do that in any other facet, in any other area of my life. Like I didn't want to speak at school. Oral presentations I hated. But for
Interesting.
some reason, at these workshops, I would step up and grab a mic and try and freestyle. And for a year, I was horrible. But then it started clicking. It started kind of falling into place. I was like, oh wow, I can freestyle for like a minute. I can freestyle for 2 minutes. I can freestyle without stopping now. And I wasn't even like cognizant. I wasn't even registering that I was improving. It was just like, I'm not going to not do this. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to do it. Any opportunity I had. And yeah, man, it's funny. Like I look at it now and it's like the only thing in my life. Like I was quite a good athlete. I was really good at footy and then soccer. And then I was a long distance runner and I tried a bunch of different things. But music, hip hop was the only thing that has stuck. Only thing that stayed with me.
Have you ever fallen off the path?
Yeah. First relationship I was in, there was a good 2 years where I kind of was more obsessed with her than I was with music.
We've all done it.
And I let it fall by the wayside, which was the biggest mistake in my life.
To date, by the way.
Addiction. Addiction was probably, you could call that an addiction as well. But then like alcohol, codeine, those like the chemical addictions pulled me off the path for a little bit.
Don't you feel like love though, or like I guess lust? It that in itself is almost like a chemical addiction, right? Because it triggers like a dopamine.
Well, yeah,
hit.
you're right. It is like literally, it is a chemical. Serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
It's almost like you become a fiend for it, and then you let go of everything else because you don't want to lose the thing that is keeping that there, right?
When you know, like I'm prone to depression and anxiety and whatnot, and when you find things that kind of pull you away from that, you cling on to them for dear life. Alcohol, prescription drugs, a woman, anything that takes you out of yourself.
Reality,
yeah. You're like, I want more of that.
Yeah.
And I have a penchant for hedonism. Like,
dude, same.
You really got to be careful.
Have you heard eudaimonic?
No.
You know what eudaimonic is? So it's like the flip side of hedonism. So like to live in, I think it's Udemy. It's taking care of yourself without the rate of desire encompassing your entire being. So you kind of like, because sometimes like I go to the gym, right? And I'll be lifting weights and then I'll be like, I'm looking in the mirror too much and I'm liking this too much. And then I'll look up above the mirror because it'll break away from the ego kind of thing.
Right.
Right. Because there is almost a self-hedonism that comes with lifting. Because I used to take steroids and all that.
Really?
Yeah. I was like in the bodybuilding scene.
I'm interested about this because like, you know, like I'm prone to addiction and my addictions are I think I was saying, so alcohol, opiates.
As we sip on wine.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got it in check now.
Of course.
You can tell when I don't have, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have it in check. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd be at home drinking. I'm interested with that one because steroids always to me seem like there's such a negative impact on you. How do you overlook that? Like there's so many talked about side effects of taking steroids. It fucks with your manhood. Yes. All those things. Like, is the desire to be for gains that strong that it overtakes everything else? Like, what's the thought there?
Well, for me, the roller coaster ride of steroids and the bodybuilding industry, that came from a feeling. First of all, I started lifting before I started steroids.
Yeah.
So I was 130 kilos and I dropped half my body weight to 65.
Wow.
And I looked so skinny.
Yeah.
But I felt better than
How tall are you?
6 foot.
Yeah, me too.
And then that kind of made me like go, like, I feel good, but instead of being like, hey, fat boy from everybody else, it was like, are you okay?
Right. People were worried about you.
Yeah, right. Too skinny. but I'd felt better than I'd ever felt in my life. And I used weightlifting and was actually like bongs and cans of V to lose all that weight. You know, like I would smoke weed.
Caffeine's the appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd constantly, and I was sugar-free Vs, of it, like V energy drinks. But then it came to a point where I needed mass and I didn't want to put on fat. And I started lifting weights like more rigorously, like YouTubing fucking everything, right? To like learn how to put on weight. I took every supplement you can think of. And this was the birth of like looking into steroids, right? I took all the creatines, the amino acids, like all that kind of
All the
stuff
before
doing that, right? But it was almost like, it's like what we were talking about before the podcast is we like people used to run to get food. Now you can just drive through KFC. Well, I wanted the KFC drive through for the best body. Right. I didn't want to have to go through the struggle and all that kind of stuff. Well, I was still struggling because it was more a mental thing than anything. And then it came to the point of I met a guy at a bar and he was a security guard and he was huge. And I was like, dude, how are you doing it? And he's like, I'll get you some stuff. And I was like, okay, what's this stuff? And he's like, just some chemicals. You'll love it. I was like, all right, it must be like creatine or something. Like blasé to me was injectables. And I was living in Karratha at this point, and
I just got back from Karratha.
Did you?
Yeah, my sister's up there teaching.
And it was at the Tambray Tavern. Shout out Tambray. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't work there anymore. It's all good. But yeah, this was like when I was. I'm 30 now, and I was 22. Well, no, I was 20. I was directly on 20. And that's like the first time I ever did it. I used like an insulin needle. So I used like probably more, less than what my body would secrete anyway. And I thought it was going to work, right? And then I started doing that. I started eating more because regardless of how much you take, it increases your appetite. And I was just hungry all the time.
Really?
But I had the mental knowledge to eat healthy. So I was getting a little bit of gains and I was like, ooh, this is good. And then I moved back from Karratha because I didn't want to work up there anymore. And I'd left the steroids up there. And like I'd come down, fallen in love with a girl. This is the girl that made me stop music too, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
And then I was living with her and I was like I was going to the gym and I was seeing all these fucking huge dudes. And I remembered, the steroids are up north. So when I went up north to do my HR driving test, my heavy rigid driving test, I grabbed the steroids from my parents' house that I hid, and I brought it back with me via airplane. So that was fucking. I was like sweating. I was like,
where'd you stash them?
Where do you think?
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit! No wonder you were sweating.
Yeah, I took the metal caps off them and then like taped around them, tissued around them. Is there like a fruit fly or something?
Yeah.
Oh, just fucking smack that. And then whoop, up they went. And as soon as I went through the like detector thing, I like went to the toilet and put them in the bag because I knew that there wasn't going to be another one at the
no
other
one's
end.
going to come.
Yeah.
Check you.
So that was fucking wild. And then I came down here and I like started blasting steroids at the rate that nobody should start blasting steroids at. I was taking like 400 milligrams of testosterone per week. And I went through the steroids like fucking quick. But
So what'd you do? Did you find a connect down here?
yeah. So that obviously when you're going to so I put on 15 kilos of muscle in 6 weeks because I knew how to eat and I knew how to train. And then everybody in the gym was like, and the acne, bro, everyone knew, right?
Really?
So all of the steroid guys were like, dude, you on something? And then they were like, oh, I've got more if you need it. And it's like, oh, okay, there we go, right? But the reason as to why I tell that story is, it came from like a mental, like almost, I was lost within myself and I needed to like imprint who I am to society. I never did it for myself.
Mm.
It wasn't like, oh, now I feel good. Now once I get to like 105 kilos lean, I'll be good. It wasn't like that. It was fucking like I wanted recognition. And then when I didn't get it, it was like, oh, what am I doing this for? And then I found out what the side effects were when I came off of it. Yeah.
Was it hard to come off it?
No, I just stopped taking it. My appetite went to shit. I lost 20 kilos.
So you don't just blow out. You usually come down in size, like when
The
you
people,
stop taking it.
I think the people that see, like there's so Andrew Huberman, who runs the Huberman Lab podcast, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He talks about there's a specific type of fat, which is brown fat to muscle conversion. So there is actually fat that does turn to muscle. But there's not a lot of evidence that states that it goes the other way.
Right.
You kind of just gain flabbiness and lose muscle like really quickly. And because your body has shut down, think of it like if you had a nuclear power plant, right? If you shut down the nuclear power plant, what's going to light the city? Like natural light? You don't have enough of that. You know what I'm saying? So like your levels don't come back to where they were. They come back below it. But your estrogen comes back to where it was. So you see the guys with the fat asses and stuff. That's normally a couple years after, but that does happen where they have wider hips and
really,
yeah, they get it's called I can't remember what it's called, but it's development of breast tissue.
Interesting.
Yeah,
man, I must have high estrogen levels because I have a fat ass naturally. My dad
that's
has
a
one
thing.
Too.
That's a real thing though.
Really?
Like, is it muscle though? No, it's
just a badunkadunk.
Well, like biovariability in humans is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So like some people have like long arms.
So that's a whole like ectomorph, endomorph. What is it? Like the
Mesomorph,
different
ectomorph,
Yeah,
endomorph,
the different builds of right. Like,
yeah. But there's also like a certain amount of mass that your body can hold, right?
Right.
And what I found with like some a typical mesomorph, right? I can get pretty jacked, but I stay well.
Is mesomorph where's that in the?
It's like in the middle.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So your endomorph is more like the fat fucks. Ectomorph is more the skinny guys that find it hard to put on weight.
Yeah.
But like the biovariability of humans is like some people have a higher amount of body fat in certain areas. It doesn't mean specifically that you're more feminine, but it can mean like maybe you have I don't know, like a higher feminine or like progesterone, estrogen kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, man. It's funny. Like in terms of like, cause that's what you're explaining is before that, like being honest, it's a form of body dysmorphia, right?
It's exactly what it is.
I had that the opposite way. So I think before we started, I was talking about like I was a long distance runner. My first real girlfriend, who became my wife, we're divorced now, but when we started dating, there was a couple of occasions where she called me chubby. She was like, "Oh, you look pretty chubby." I'd won this battle called Scribble Jam, and they made a documentary. And I remember showing her the documentary, and I thought she'd be like super proud. She's like, "Holy shit, you're in a documentary, it aired on national TV, and real cool." But her comment was, "Oh, you look pretty chubby."
Fuck.
And I was like, "Fuck, do I?" I'd never thought that before, At the time, that was like my prime years for smoking weed. And my favorite thing to do after I'd smoked was go to the servo and get like gummy worms, and Skittles, and ice cream and chocolate, bro. That was my favorite thing. At the time, it's funny that I struggled with alcohol because at the time I hated, like when we went to parties and everyone wanted to drink, I was like, bro, let's just leave and go have a sesh and get a bunch of munchies and go watch like a documentary on World War II. You know what I mean? Like that was like, I was just like, let's just chill. So I put on a bit of weight. Like I was saying, I was always athletic. I'd always played footy and soccer and done all these things. And at this stage of my life, I put on a bit of weight. So she called me chubby. I probably was a little bit overweight, but it really got to me, like sensitive soul, right? So I started running, and I stopped eating well, like meaning like to eat like once a day. And I got down to about 63 kilograms, but there was no, it was just skin and bones. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot as well. But there was no like muscle built or anything like that. It was just like
Because you were running.
gaunt, you
Yeah.
know? And I did that for a few years. And then it turned to like, I was like, I do enjoy sweets. I do like, I kind of started eating again, but I was like, I don't want to put on weight. And so I was bulimic for a while. I was throwing up. I was making myself throw up for on and off for maybe 2 years. So embarrassed about it, man. Like I talk about it now. Like I go into schools and do a lot of like talks in schools, and I talk about it now because it's seen as like a female thing, bulimia. Throwing, you know, you think about like supermodels and stuff like that who
Right.
throw up. It's never talked about that males go through that as well. So I talk about it now because I feel like, you know, that openness I think will help a lot of younger kids, whether they're female, male, or whatever they're struggling with. Just that kind of vulnerability is connecting. But yeah, man, it was such a like dark period in my life because every time, you know, I'm like gorging and then throwing up and being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Did you have that thought after every time you
oh,
did it?
all the time, bro.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. I was like, what are you doing? Like you already hate yourself, right? Because you're trying to like
Be something else.
be something else. But then in the act of doing it as well, you're like, oh, you're such a piece of shit. And I was like, I didn't realize how much kind of negativity was just filling my mind constantly. You know what I mean? And it took until, I think it took until afterwards, you know, that was when my problems with alcohol started, and that was like a process as well. And I ended up getting like, I'm not sober now, but I'm controlled now. But I got sober for 3 years, and it wasn't until I got sober where it was like, shit, you need to like stop treating yourself this way. Like I was like running 80 Ks a week and throwing up all the time, and then just drinking and taking opiates. And I was like, are you fucking killing yourself? I ended up passing out on a treadmill. I nearly, bro, my heart stopped. They told me I was having an arrhythmia,
Shit.
and my heart stopped. And it was like, that was a point where I was like, I woke up, I went to the hospital. They told me what had happened. You know, I was lucky I didn't die. But I was like, I'm going to fucking kill myself if I keep doing this. And so that was a point where I was like, no, I don't want to die. Like, that trumped wanting to look super thin and wanting to not feel, because, you know, I was shy and introverted and I wanted to escape that. And that moment, it was like, no, I don't want to fucking die. Like, I want to, you know, there's so many things I want to do in my life. So that was a moment where I was like, no, I got to change things. And so I got sober for 3 years and just changed my lifestyle completely. And that was like the barrier for me, where it was like, that was the past. After the 3 years, that was the future kind of thing.
Did you have a goal in mind? Was there like a going through it? Were you like, I have to reach this certain point?
No,
or-
there wasn't a specific goal. It's more just like, I don't want to die. So it's like,
Right.
I'm going to do whatever I can to get healthy. Started eating healthy. You know, I got married during that time.
During the time you were sobering up?
During the time I was, sober. That was, I learned a lot. I'll say that. I don't think that was the right decision.
Why?
We're divorced now. I just don't think it was, I think I was craving acceptance, and I was looking for that wherever I could get it, even in toxic people who were not very nice to me. So like, I think that relationship was pretty, you know, I don't want to, it's easy to just be like, she was wrong, I was right, but it was more dynamic than that. There was, you know, it was multi-layered, but
Of course.
what suffice to say, it wasn't the right decision, but I think I was scared and just thinking that if I get married, if I get sober, if I do these things, my life will look good. And it wasn't as simple as that. But there were good things that came from it. Like I did get sober and I did kind of change my habits and stopped, throwing up and stopped doing all these destructive things to my body. So I kind of like cleaned myself up. But then I was in a marriage that I don't think was the healthiest marriage.
What age?
Fuck, is this depressing, bro? I don't
No. This is fine. What age were you going through like all this at? And did any
25.
25. Right. So this is
I got married young.
Yeah, you did. But like in context, right? Our like endocrine system like adjusts for like having children even at like 16 now. Like you see that on MTV, the 16 and pregnant or whatever the fuck it is. It's like there's a culture for young, like stupid decisions and like
man. People are making money off.
Yeah, and it's not even the people that are on
it.
Somebody else is profiting off that
I
shit.
wish they were making money off it, man. Like that's what they need. But yeah.
Well, do they? Because they've made that decision.
I mean, just mean like some kind of financial stability would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do they get paid on that shit?
I hope so.
You think they would, right?
They better be, bro. They better be getting paid.
If Bad Baby's like a millionaire now, they should definitely get something.
She really capitalized on that.
Did she
Catch Me
ever?
Outside situation.
Well, she's on OnlyFans and everything now, yeah?
Making millions.
Millions.
That's such a testament to you do not have to be talented to have a career.
Oh, well, in the beginning?
No.
Because it was brilliant.
She's not talented.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, maybe she's great at
think about it like this, right?
She's great at being a public persona.
Propaganda is talent, right? You can admit that, right? People
well, the ability to spread, the ability to make people believe in your propaganda spreading, in your identity, in your like life is a talent.
Yes. So like positive artwork, like music and paintings and all these kind of like physical things, right? Or audible and physical things. They all kind of like set off an emotion within you.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it be like a sad song or a happy song or like Tupac, like empowering, like sometimes. Bad Baby has this way of propagating a sense of negativity to how we see her. Right.
Yeah.
And she lives in that vacuum and just suspends herself in the atmosphere of like, this is how I'm seen, so I might as well make money from it.
Well, and that's it. It's the ability to like remove yourself from, because like for instance, if it was
wine, by the way, if you want.
Thanks, man. If it was either of us, I think our immediate reaction would be like, I need to change the public's perception of me being the bad person, the bad guy, bad girl in her case. The ability to be like, look, I can see how this will sell. I can see how this image is, it's like a car crash. People don't want to look away, right? Like I'm happy to be the car crash. I don't need to be the firefighter saving people from the car crash. I'm happy to be the car crash. Like that's a talent. It's a smart move in our zeitgeist, meaning in the current spirit of the times. Like the understanding that that's going to sell and you can create an identity and a career off of that mindset is very intelligent. And I want to say in a fucked up way, kind of humble, because you're not going, I need to appear to everyone. I'm happy to be the heel. Like when it comes to wrestling the heel, I'm happy to be the villain, with the understanding that this is going to create this kind of like uproar, like people are going to want to watch.
Yeah.
It's kind of genius, man. Like it's, I guarantee that she knows what she's doing. Like people like that. The Kardashians know how they're perceived, but they know that like it's better to have people watching and hating you than to have no one watching at all.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about before the podcast as well. We fucking talked about a lot before the podcast, but with those little reaction videos that I'm doing on my Instagram, right? Like, and pinning the most negative comment. It's almost taking what you've been given and just flipping it, right? And just being like, okay, if that's how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. And then
What I like about that is you make it obvious that you're in on the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
You're in on the joke.
Yeah.
Like no one's like, yeah, bro, that perfect move is to pin the haters to the top because it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like I know, I agree almost. Like you're like, yeah, I agree. Isn't this ridiculous?
somebody said today,
But watch
actually,
me pivot, watch me maneuver this to like
yeah,
get eyes on what I really care about. The podcast and the music and everything else you're doing.
yeah.
Genius.
Well, the only reason that I'm doing it is so there's a number where attention span lies. So you don't normally trust someone until you've seen their face like on a phone. That's why you see reoccurring ads so much. You don't trust their face until you've seen it 16 times. Did you know that?
Really?
16 times
No.
now.
Who worked that out?
I think it's like a psychology, attention span, fucking
Right.
yeah.
That's when they almost seem familiar.
Yes,
like-
yeah, they become a part of the ecology that you live in,
Yeah.
right? It's the Dunbar's number,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
they become a part of the 150 people that you can recognize.
Yeah.
So the only
Interesting.
reason that when one hit 15,000, I was like, those 15,000 people are going to see me again. So I might as well keep doing this.
Yeah.
So eventually when one of my podcast videos goes viral, they'll be like, isn't that the guy from the
See,
record?
yeah.
And then
That's
because
the hack right there.
because I've attached it to funny, comedic shit or like empowering stuff, it's like they remember me as the guy that they can have a laugh with, or they can have a deeper meaningful.
Isn't that interesting, bro? Like it's not the hashtag or the algorithm. It's the psychology.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
at the end of the day, it's still human interaction and psychology that kind of like wins out. Like the way that the chess moves are like, it's psychological. It's not algorithmic.
Yeah, well, there's only two things that are at the other end of those screens, and that's bots and humans, right? And we have an abundance of information on how humans act. We don't know how bots act, but I can tell you this. I know I know one thing.
Ask Vladimir.
That motherfucker. I don't mean that. Oh, yeah, I do. Fuck you, bro.
Apparently he's about to die.
Oh, dude, apparently he has cancer, right? Yeah. What do you think about that whole Russia-Ukraine thing? It's pretty like it's imminent that like. Have you heard what Putin's plan, like his philosophy is? We'll call it that.
What I heard was, I mean, what I think about it is fucked up. Obviously, like
Obviously,
it's war. It's inhumane. Like anyone with a heart is like it's super fucked up. But what I heard was because he is close to. He's kind of like he's always been that kind of megalomaniac dictator type person, right? But he's always had in his mind a future. But now he's kind of nearing the end. He's like, let me fucking go buck wild in my last days. So it's like he's throwing caution to the wind because he doesn't have long left. So all these things he's always wanted to do, he's kind of like, I'm going to die soon. So why don't I just fucking take the world with me?
yeah.
You know what I mean? And make it Russia's world. That's
Well, that's literally his philosophy. So there was a dictator, I think it was not one before him, but two before him because it was stolen than him, right?
I don't know.
I might have fucked that up. Maybe.
I know that he's had power for way
like
too
150
long.
years. But there was a dictator that had a very like fruitful impact on the way the dictatorship worked throughout the planet and all of Russia. But he wanted to overcome certain countries, and Putin has stated now that he will fulfill that legacy. And there's a list. Did you know America is 18 miles away from Russia, the borders?
Yes, because I know that a woman swam from Alaska to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, no, she didn't. She did,
Yeah, she did.
because they're quite close.
Oh yeah, that's where I got that from
Really?
as well. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, what? What?
18 miles. It's
18
fucking
fucking
insane.
miles. No wonder that like Americans shitting themselves, right? Because they could be in Alaska right now. There could be a base and we could not know about it at all. You know
Yeah.
how fucking wild Alaska is? Have you ever seen
Yeah.
Alaska, man? That fucking dude's
Alaskans
crazy.
haven't seen Alaska. Isn't it dark a little?
Yeah, literally. But like mountainous terrain that Siberians and stuff like that can live in, like it's fucking nothing. They love it, right? And fucking, you put a fat fuck from California in the middle of Alaska, the dude's dead in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Easily.
Most people are.
Most people are.
Put a Russian there, they'll build a city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You put
It's like, oh, it's Russia.
That's the thing, right? Like it's so close that us 18 miles, what's that? Fucking 40 kilometers away. Like
It's Rockingham.
it's Rockingham. Not even. Like, you know, that's kind of wild to think about that. And actually, you know, Cameron McLaren on the podcast, he stated that there's I can't remember the name of the sea, but it's the sea that's between China, India, and I think it's Russia. I'm not sure. I don't know how that fucking works. But
Not no, I don't even. I'm just guessing.
are you good at geography?
No.
No.
I'm guessing.
Oh, guessing.
The thing
Okay. I can't remember the fucking name of it. Go and see the other fucking podcast. But last
Does it
year,
start with a B?
it starts with the. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even gonna
okay.
fucking attempt it. But last year, Australia, like, so Australia wants to step in because they're always beefing over this. Like, there's heaps of. It's very oil rich, right? And so China wants it, India wants it for the obvious. Last year, Australia, for the first time ever, said that we're going to step in and sort this out. And China retaliated with, that is an act of war. Any progress on this statement will be taken as such.
Wow.
And retaliation will be taken into account. What? Like, did you know that?
Bro, I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me. Like, I feel like they're looking for their first opportunity, right? Like,
Yeah, true. Well, we're
Man,
like
you know,
Australia
my-
is a subset of America, and like to hit us would be
Yeah,
like send
we're
them a
allies.
message.
And we're kind of like not right for the taking, but like,
we got a lot of uranium.
and not a lot of people.
Exactly, and they're all around the coast.
Yeah, man. Like,
So if you just landed your plane in the middle of Australia, nobody'd know you were there.
you know what? I feel like America are our allies, right? But like, I can picture a world, a scenario where they're like, oh, cool, take Australia, don't come at us though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I can see a world where that happens. I don't know, bro. I feel like we're like if you picture us as like a baseball team or something like that, like all the allies, right? Like we're kind of like the starter, the younger, like more susceptible.
yeah. Like, why have they got so much meth?
You know, bro. You know what I always wanted to do, the Trans-Siberian Express. So the railway from, I think it's Beijing or Shanghai to Moscow. So it goes from China through Mongolia to Russia. It's a train, a railway.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
haven't
It's
heard
like
of
a
that.
well-known railway journey, because I think how beautiful and how like it would be such a different scenic experience than we've ever kind of encountered, right? Like going through China and then Mongolia, which
That'd
is
be
so
crazy.
kind of like people don't go there often, right? And then landing in Moscow, it's like that's in this day and age seems like the most dangerous fucking thing in the world to do. Like you couldn't do it now, you know.
No, you couldn't.
You see, you know, Bert Kreischer, the comedian.
Yeah, of course.
He the Machine Story.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
shot
yeah.
that movie in Siberia, but it's about the Russian mob
Yeah,
from the Machine Story. He can't release the movie because what bad press to release a movie about like siding with the Russian mafia.
Yeah.
You know, like hijacking trains and
yeah,
like
and
stealing from
everything.
his classmates and whatnot. What fucking bad
I
timing, bro.
heard he made that movie.
Last year or something, and now like then Russia like, oh, we're going to war with the Ukraine.
Dude.
I mean, obviously like very low on the scale of importance, but fuck, man, dude gets his big break with his most famous story, and war breaks out, so he can't release it until it calms
Imagine
down.
that. Fucking that would that's almost like that movie, what was it, The Interview?
Oh yeah, with Seth
Right?
Rogen,
Yeah.
James Franco, and
Yeah, well, they were like
North
talking
Korea.
shit about Kim Jong Un, and then like Kim Jong Un is like pointed a missile at America on release day.
Didn't that ruin the careers of a bunch of like Sony execs?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but they went ahead with the release. I don't know if they released it under Sony though. I think they did, didn't they?
I can't remember. I just remember hearing that it ruined. Like,
I know it didn't
there was a
come
leak.
out. It didn't come out in the cinemas.
Really?
Yeah, I remember
For
that.
that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I remember they had like signs up in the Morley Galleria, and then like the next day they were taken down. I was like,
really?
"What's going on here?"
Shit.
Yeah, it was a strange time.
Yeah, man.
But that's the
Bro,
difference.
it's been a weird, like, don't you think, I mean, the last, obviously 2 years, 3 years nearly, but 6 to 7 years in general, like, things feel different, bro. Like, obviously after COVID, but even before that, like, when Trump got elected president, like, the divide, what's happening, like, I feel like I'm out now, and I feel like people are different. There's like things have changed. Social dynamics have changed.
Of course.
Do you feel that? Like, obviously they have in a very kind of like,
I guess it's like the bubble you're in, right? It's like
yeah,
what are you exposed to?
what I'm talking about, man. Like, I even feel like in crowds now, it's like people don't know how to act. I noticed this the other day. It was like I was standing in line and people weren't lining up behind. They were kind of like all just crowding
Right.
around.
Right.
And I was like, what? This is weird, man. It was like, it felt like people don't know how to act anymore. I've had a few instances of that where I'm like, are people kind of, I don't know. There's
On
like a
edge?
scarcity mindset.
That's
like,
probably it, man.
fuck
This-
everyone else. I just
yeah.
want to get what I want to get type thing. It just feels like it's different.
Yeah, that's probably it. I think you're on the money with saying that, the scarcity thing. Mainly because, do you remember in COVID when they had like little toilet paper and everyone freaked out?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing for everything now,
Yeah.
right? Like what if fucking Russia bombs America and that starts at World War III, or bombs Ukraine and America steps in?
And what it is I think everyone has that mindset now.
Whether they
Everyone's
know it or
thinking
not,
like,
yeah.
what if this happens? What if this? And it's almost like this, like, I'm gonna get mine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna. Everyone's a little bit more. It's not like anarchy. You know what I mean? It's not complete chaos, but it feels like everyone's a little bit more. I'm gonna get mine. I'm not gonna be as community minded. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna make sure me and my family get mine.
Yeah.
It feels like there's more of that mentality across the board.
How did like the people around you change?
See, it's not that noticeable. I don't think I can be like because the people around me are still, we're friends, community. Like, it's not like that's changing, but it's
Okay.
more like
It's just
strangers,
everyday
interaction
people.
with like NPCs in your life
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
is changing. Like,
I notice people step back in conversation now.
yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like a lot of people won't.
People don't want to engage as much.
Yes, that's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People almost, they're like, because we've been blasted with so much propaganda and all that kind of shit within like the last 2 years. Take the COVID thing, for instance. It's almost like, what's the news? Like, give me your information, whatever the fuck it is. And I'm going to take it and I'm not going to process it. I'm just going to think in my own way about things. Like That's what I feel that empathy has been driven to the lowest form right now because COVID pushed us into a place of my health is important, my family's health is important, us surviving this is important, regardless if we knew it was going to be a fucking, population decrease or something like that.
The craziest thing about that is it shows like how quickly humans devolve when there's like scarcity mindset. You know what I mean? Like we're capable of some fucking horrible things when it comes to protecting our family and what we perceive as ours. Like
Where do you think we would be without it?
Society breaks down quickly.
Yeah, it does. Joe Rogan actually says that a lot. He goes, freedom's lost are rarely gained. Well, regained, sorry.
Mm-hmm. In the midst of devolving.
Yeah. Because that's one thing is if you see a society kind of like stepping back from its like ethics, values, all that kind of stuff, because each individual person is acting on their own accord and almost acting like in a primal nature, right? Every time that they step back from like, oh, this is how like the morale is like kept in society. No, I need to wipe my ass. Like whatever the fuck it is, right? The government is going to step in and say, oh, we have a solution for this. Do you remember when they were like, oh, maybe we'll have like green cards for like if you want to travel interstate, so we can register who travels and if you have COVID or not.
I remember there was talk.
Yeah.
There
was a couple places that started like the implementation of that process.
Really?
Yeah. But luckily the government was changed out to Labor just in the nick of time.
Right.
And then after like 3 weeks of Labor being in, all of the fucking shit, like the lockdowns, the face masks, everything in a day, gone.
Yeah.
I remember that morning, I said to Hammer, my rapper, because he didn't get vaccinated.
Did you?
I did, unfortunately.
I did.
Yeah.
Did you get the booster?
No. Did you?
No.
Yeah. I actually know a guy who's had 4 boosters, so he's
boosters?
He's still getting boosted now. Yeah.
Is anyone going to tell him?
Well, did you? I heard on the radio a couple of days ago that they're still recommending booster shots.
Yeah, I saw that the other night. It's kind of like, I don't know, man. Like
It's almost like at the end of the tea towel that they're just wringing it out.
I'm not, and then I'm like, okay, if that's required, I'm gonna do it. Obviously, like I'll do it. If they're like, you have to do this to be a part of society, I'll do it. It feels a little bit fucked up though. Like I'm hesitant. I think anyone who's not hesitant, that's a little bit weird. Like,
but
really, you need 4 boosters in the space of a year? That's fucking weird. Like,
and in 6 months' time, it's not even going to register in your system.
Obviously, I'm not a scientist. I don't know. Like, I'm never going to be like super. I don't know enough to have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
But for what I know, it feels weird. It feels fucking weird.
Yeah.
I don't want to get him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's instinct, but I don't want to go get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the reason as to why I got the vaccine, and I'll speak freely about this, was because I wanted to be accepted more by society.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I literally wanted to be able to still go and run workshops in schools and speak. Like, I did it because I had to do it.
Yes.
And I'm not of the mind that it's this big conspiracy to kill us off or whatnot, but I'm definitely weary.
Yeah. Where I was going with that, though,
Sorry.
It was, I didn't do it for the government.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to say, hey, I'm a part of you. Like,
Yeah.
let's, and,
No,
and
you're
on
not
the
like a
flip
big
side,
advocate.
On the flip side of that, I'm not like saying governments are bad or anything like that. I'm just saying they're run by people, and people aren't infallible, right? They make human decisions which are like, I mean, they make decisions based on human nature because they are themselves human.
Mm.
What I'm getting at with that is I wanted to be more accepted by my tribe, and we were all worried, is Nan gonna die?
Yeah.
Because that was
Which
the
is, I
narrative
think, the
that was
purest kind of.
pushed. Yeah.
Of course.
Whether it was
like
not,
when that's on the line, of course.
and whether or not it was a smart decision for my health or anybody's health, because a bit like yourself, when I was 24, I had a heart attack.
Bro.
Yeah, it was steroids and drugs. At a festival, got on. I met this girl. Here's a story. I met this girl.
We got a tangent for a second.
Oh yeah, we will. Met this girl at Stereosonic. I was taking 4 grams of gear, so like steroids, every 2 weeks, so 2 grams a week, and that's like that's like Olympia level fucking steroid use. Not even that. Like those guys don't even take that much. Ooh. And then that plus 13 pills, a bunch of baggies that I just like went like this with, and then I was like chewing my face off, and then eventually I met this girl who's like, she's like, I'm studying, and I was like, okay, and then we went back to her place, and it was a fucking rooftop apartment like right next to the Rendezvous in Scarborough Beach, and I was like, this is like a $1.8 million apartment, like, and you're studying? Like, turns out she was a prostitute, found out eventually, but she bought like an ounce of meth. And that was the first time I'd ever tried it. Well, actually, no, it wasn't the first time I tried it, but I smoked it for a week with her. So I was high for a week with this girl, like didn't go to work or anything. And then I went to the work on like the last day of it all and like just fell over. Like, I wasn't drinking water.
And had a heart attack.
Yeah. I was living on meth and Gatorade.
Wait, so
And
where were
steroids.
you working at the time?
Just like a trucking company, and I was expected to drive a truck all day.
Can you lead me through the how did that day plan out up to the heart attack? Like,
Oh, okay, that's a good fucking question. So I left hers, right, and I was like freaking out that I like even after a week of like meth use, like you're like, oh, I need this, which is really strange. You think about that, like it's a kind of like
quickly it becomes
it becomes like it's like almost your reliance on it becomes immediate.
yeah.
So I was driving away from hers, going to work. Hey, we're going to work, thinking it was
Feeling
like,
like you're riding.
because I just had some before I left, and there was a cop driving the other way down Scarborough Beach Road, and I saw it probably 300 meters away. I turned off because I was that paranoid at thinking I had done something wrong, and I was like, "Oh, this is different. This is strange. I haven't even done anything." Like, and I was like, "They're after me, man. They're after me," because I hadn't slept or anything. Like, and I was like, I'd never felt anything like that before in my life, and I was like, "Fuck." Okay, well, I guess we've got to get through this day.
Are you paranoid? Are you feeling kind of like you're a bit weary, but you're also feeling confident because you're on gear? Like
There was no confidence.
No confidence.
My confidence had withered away with the lack of intake of calories. Because I was so lean to look good for Stereosonic, right? And then I was just like muscle and skin, and then I was like,
What year is this? Can I ask?
2015.
That was when I performed with Peking Duck at Stereosonic.
Yeah, Peking Duck were playing then.
Yeah, I played with them. So you would have watched me fucking come out and
Oh fuck!
rap with Peking Duck.
Most likely, yeah. There's probably a video of me. I still have. I'll show
Can you-
you them. It's fucking terrible.
Anyway,
And
so you pull off.
yeah, so I pull off, and then like I can't remember like vividly, but and then I end up finding my way to work. I hadn't drank any water for like the last 2 days or anything. It was just like Gatorade, and then that was all out of my system. And then I picked up like 2 boxes to load into the back of the truck, and I was like, what the? and there was a dum dum, and I was like, why can I feel that so much? And then it was just like dum, and then
Felt like the wind was knocked out of you.
yeah, and then everything around my neck tightened up. And there's something called tren cough when you take a lot of trenbolin. Like, if it hits a blood vessel and that goes through your heart, everything seizes up like you're having a heart attack. So I've felt it before, and I was like, that's weird to get tren cough now, and then out,
Blackout.
blackout. The next moment, I woke up in an ambulance
You woke up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
on the way to the hospital.
How
and
long have you been out? Do you know?
It must have been like they said something like on like 11 minutes because it was in Maddington and there wasn't a lot of like ambulances around that area.
Yeah.
So I passed out there, and this was in the middle of the bitumen on like and like deep.
Who found you?
Well, everybody was working because we were all loading
Right.
trucks in the morning. So as soon as I hit the deck, they were like, "What the fuck?" And
Yeah.
then like because like they knew I wasn't like making it up. I just fucking passed the fuck out.
Yeah.
They called the ambulance and whatnot, and it turned out I had like severe globulated blood, so my blood just stopped moving in my arteries and veins and
shit.
stuff. So it was just like
So you,
super
you had a
dehydrated.
heart attack,
Heart attack, yeah,
and so they get you to the hospital. You're awake at this stage,
yeah.
and what
That's
happens?
a good line of questioning. So I woke up on an IV and like
In the ambulance.
no, this is at the hospital now.
Oh, so you passed out.
Passed
again.
out again, yeah. Because they can't rehydrate you that quickly unless they have an IV, and they administered one, but it wasn't taking two. Like at the hospital, came to probably like a few hours later. So like I obviously needed sleep too, right? But I didn't feel like sleep because it was still in my system. They're like, "Have you had any drugs?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "We tested your blood," and I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "Yeah,
Don't ask me then, man. Just,
Yeah, like-
yeah.
um,
What's the point? You just had a fucking heart attack. Why are they trying to stump you on whether you're gonna lie or not? Like, hey, we found this in your blood. How much have you? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's such a more helpful question.
yeah,
How much have you been smoking? This is what we found in your blood.
yeah,
Fucking try and stump someone who's just had a heart attack. Like, hey, we gotcha. You were smoking meth.
yeah."
Fuck you. Save my life.
So it was like, I think that it's kind of funny though. I think there's a little bit of politics to that too, because it's like they were like, "You're free to go," like that day,
What?
and I was like,
Wait.
Ye-
What?
"Yeah," and I was like, "I'm not going," and they're like, "Okay, well, he has some like thought to him then." Like they were
So they're trying to see whether or not you're that much of an addict that you're just going to go and kill yourself. Or
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah,
no, let's fix this.
That's exactly where I thought.
Holy shit, man.
And then I was like, okay, well, I need to call someone who like cares about me. I called that girl, and she's like, "I'll bring the pipe with me." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Do you need some?" And I'm like, "Okay, you're not the person." And on the
Wow.
phone, I was like, "Don't ever talk to me again."
Yeah, bro. That would what a fucking.
Yeah. So that was somebody that was obviously in it, right? They weren't, and like I just got caught up in that world, their world, for that brief moment in time, and that kind of like reset my thinking to go like that was actually the point where I was like, I need to stop steroids.
Wait.
As well.
And so what did they do? Like, so you had a heart attack. Did they have to put stents in or anything?
No, it wasn't like that. It was more because like stents and stuff are like for like corroded arteries.
So you didn't have that. It was more like change your lifestyle to prevent that from happening again.
Yeah.
What time do you normally?
Probably knock it off soon.
Yeah.
So what was the question, sorry?
So they didn't. So you didn't.
Oh, so it wasn't stints or anything. No,
Yeah.
it was kind of just like I don't know how they term it, but like almost like there wasn't enough blood to go through for oxygenation, so it cut it off, and then it ceased from pumping.
So cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Really?
So
So
it
do
tried
they
to
have to-
jolt itself.
Did they have to give you defib?
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Is there damage to the heart?
No. Well, not that I'm aware of. I went back to the doctors twice after that to like have scans and stuff, and they were like, "It's very strange," but I think it was the steroids that actually helped that.
Really?
Yeah, because once I got rehydrated and like, because the heart is a muscle, and
Gang of Youths, one of their best songs. You know Gang of Youths?
no,
Man, one of the best bands in the world. They're from Sydney, but yeah. Anyway,
the heart is a
they've
muscle.
got a song called "The Heart Is a Muscle."
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, and I think that like the repairing nature of steroids, like that's what it does, is it allows you to rebuild the muscle quickly and repair the muscle quickly. Sometimes I still do think I have issues with like arrhythmia and stuff
Yeah,
in that nature, but
that's what I suffer from.
yeah. I noticed a lot of like breath work and stuff helps that though.
Really?
Yes.
Box breathing and whatnot.
Not so like CO2 retention. So long exhales so you retain as much CO2 as possible.
Right. Long exhales and hold.
Well, that's kind of like increasing CO2 like insanely, because like you have a minimal, like if you're doing a long exhale of like air, you're maximizing your CO2 levels inside of the lungs, and then if you're holding it, any oxygen that you had left in your lungs is now being processed into CO2.
Right.
Yes.
And we're carbon life forms, right? And
Correct.
so I heard this thing the other day where it was like we think about the fact that we need oxygen to survive, but like CO2 is so important to like regulate us.
Yeah, that's why you get a lot of hallucinations and stuff with breath work, because they teach you to go and you dispel all of your carbon dioxide doing that, right? Cutting off, well, you're constricting arteries, constricting veins and capillaries and stuff. And you can think about the map of capillaries that are inside of the brain. That's going to set off a lot of like, well, it's going to turn off a lot of like parts of the brain. I don't really know how the mechanism works, but like
it's interesting to me, man. Obviously for someone who suffers from arrhythmias and whatnot, like the whole idea behind breath work, and you know, like I was listening to Wim Hof talk about how like there's monks in Tibet that can control their heart rate based on their breathing. Like they can take it up to 300 beats a minute, which is fucking insane. Like I've got a defib in my chest. If it went to 300 beats a minute, it'd be shocking me. But they can do it on command and then bring it back down on command. I feel like that's something in the Western world we have no idea about, but it's like a life-saving, life-preserving type knowledge, philosophy, or whatever. So I'm really interested in that kind of thing.
There's a book called Breath.
By the dude James Nestor.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I've been nose breathing because of him.
That's a real
I haven't
thing.
read the book, but I've been nose breathing
Get
because
the audiobook.
Really?
Dude, it's worth I think it's 16 hours. It's worth it. There's like a lot of things that...
Do you tape your mouth shut?
That's actually something I've been talking to the missus about like the last few nights. I'm like, fuck, I should do that.
The idea for anyone listening, like that when you sleep, you're supposed to breathe through your nose throughout history. Like humans are evolved to breathe in and out. I know there was always that rumor that like when you're exercising, you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. But no, you're supposed to breathe in and out through your nose. So a lot of people are now taping their mouth shut when they sleep. So
just using like
they breathe through their nose.
Tape that is like, I think it's the ankle tape, right? It's like rock tape.
Yeah.
Because if you try not to use the adhesive off regular tape, because have you heard of like the phthalates thing?
No.
Okay, so like processing like plastics in the body creates phthalates, and that displaces the endocrine system. So like whether we know it or not, on the higher end of consumption, we eat about a credit card a week.
Really?
Yes.
What does that come through mainly? What foods?
Plastic containers, water bottles.
So drinking water out plastic container, all of that is like Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
I already knew that was a thing, but that makes me want to never touch plastic again.
Yeah. You'll see like glass bottles up there. I only drink through glass.
Right.
Yeah. I don't like the fact that the actual water filter is plastic though.
I have a Bunnings sells this filter. I forget the
The
name
ceramic one.
of it. Yeah. Yeah, that I filter my water through.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a good option.
Yes. Yes.
But
That's
bro-
what I will be getting after this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that to me seems more sustainable. But you know, when it comes to like mixes for gin or whatnot, I'm still buying like
Oh fuck yeah.
plastic bottles.
Fuck yeah. Can you get tonic in a fucking in like a glass bottle?
Maybe. I don't
Surely
know.
somewhere in the world. Not in
Surely.
Australia.
Surely.
Not
I mean,
Australia.
if I was, I'd drink it straight if I was doing it properly, but I'm not.
Dude, do you like martinis? I fuck
I'm
up a
not.
martini, eh?
Really?
Oh.
No, man. Red wine is my choice
Mm-hmm.
when I'm trying to not put on weight. I'll
Right.
move to clear spirits,
Mm-hmm.
gin or vodka. If I'm having a cheat day, a good IPA is where it's at.
What's your brand?
Pirate Life. Pirate Life? Yeah. that was my thing for a while. Blaster Brewery in Burswood, doing 11% IPA. It's like $40 for a 4-pack. But you know, you only need a 4-pack.
God damn.
Yeah, bro. But like, you know, I've kind of worked out. It's taken me a while, but I've kind of worked out what my limits are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Apologies. I just choked on the vape.
You're
Woo.
good. You're good. Don't
These
have a heart
fucking
attack.
things suck.
Bro. There's vapes. I used to smoke,
Yeah, me too.
and cigarettes are delightful. I wish God, the universe, whatever, whoever. I wish cigarettes are so. They're not harmless in the sense that obviously they kill us, but like, it's not affecting our mental state. I mean, nicotine's obviously making us the same.
Alert, yeah.
Yeah, alert. But
You know it's a
I wish.
nootropic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish cigarettes were a given, meaning I wish it didn't fuck with us because it's so nice to smoke a cigarette.
Well, there's some research.
I hate that it messes with your lungs.
It's
you know?
carbon monoxide, right?
Yeah.
It's the way it
just-
shrinks up the here we go
I
again.
wish it was help. You know, like
Have you ever heard of harpe?
No.
Harpe is what they blow up your nostrils when you're in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony. And
right.
and it brings on like
Keen to do one of those.
the alertness, right? Yeah, very keen. And it's tobacco,
Right.
but it's raw tobacco.
Okay.
So the
Which
biggest,
is not as toxic.
it's not as toxic. So there's a big like I guess argument at the moment that cigarettes are only bad because of the added chemicals, right?
Mm.
I think anything without abuse, right? Because you can abuse pretty much fucking anything in the world, right?
Yeah.
And like, see, if you like just had, if they weren't fucking so good, right? That's like, and that's all you needed, right?
Yeah,
Just one
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
cigarette. But no, it'll never be that.
No, it won't. But I wish it was just one of those givens, like it was like water, where it was like, yeah, you know, like it'd be such a. I think one of the reasons smoking is so satisfying is because like it's one of the only times where we take really deep breaths, like you know, they always talk about like humans don't breathe as deep as they should. When you smoke, you take it right back, like you breathe deep. It's such a. When I smoked, it was such a like reflective, calm time. I was like, I just wish this wasn't killing me.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, you know what I see a lot of is a lot of people smoking in their cars, right? And then hanging the cigarette out of the window. And it's like, even it's fucking stinky. Like, you know, you don't want your car. You don't want your car to stink up.
Well, that's ash as well.
Yeah, there's ash. You know, it's going to be
ash.
leaving shit around. And
Yeah. But what I was getting to is, bro, like I feel like in 5 years we're gonna be like, vapes are so much worse than cigarettes. As you puff on your vape, I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Well, there is some
studies are gonna come out that vapes are worse.
There is some research on it so far, and the way that the blood carries oxygen it's changed due to the inhalation of like PG oils.
Right, which is what's in vapes.
It's literally just nicotine and oil, which is like I can't remember it's PG VG. I don't know. There's like a mix, but imagine like hanging your head over the top of a deep fryer all day, just breathing it in, like, right? It can't be good for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you see every single person working at like KFC, if they don't have makeup on, they've got fucking zits and shit.
Either that or they're on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the chickens are.
Yeah, 100%. Bro, there must be a correlation there.
Yeah, literally. Well, but that's pretty much where it's at now. Is like, I don't want my lungs to be affected by the smoke that I inhale that kills off the bronchial, whatever the fuck it's called, brachia. That's it, brachia. I don't want to kill it off, but I'm not sure if vapes kill it off. I just think it might alter it in that moment.
Right.
Where, like, if you like deteriorate your lungs so much from smoking that they're not coming back, you know, like people with like emphysema and stuff like that. I wonder, like, we're going to know in the next 20 years because vapes have been around for 10 years now? About that?
Is it? Yeah.
Well, people in America, they've probably had it 5 years before us. So we're going to see like what are the long lasting effects of vapes. And before, I was a smoker from the age of 14 years old to, I think it was like 20. And then I stopped when I was 20, started again when I was 22. Then I smoked till I was 25. All through my bodybuilding age, I was smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. That usually correlates. I feel like there's...
Yeah, well,
you get that.
Ziz did a lot for the fucking bodybuilding industry.
You died at 22.
Yeah, in a fucking sauna.
Of a heart attack.
Yeah. Heart attacks are very easy to come by if you just abuse some shit. they're like, hey, man.
Yeah, man. Your body's like, nah.
Yeah, I don't like this. And we're going to shut down now. I'll see you in a bit. Yeah. Or not, you know. One thing that I'm like very interested in, like the thing that you can't like retain is, regain is like concussion trauma. CTE. Like, I got a couple of friends that do like MMA and stuff, and
it's a real thing. What interests me there is like the amount of people that commit violent crimes who've had CTE. It's like, how much of that?
Oh, the people that are committing the crimes?
Yeah.
Right.
How much of that is to blame on the CTE? It's like,
good point.
That it's very interesting, man. Like, you know, there's a bit the documentary. Who's a football player? Aaron whatever. He
Australian?
killed. No, American footballer. Aaron Lomas. I forget. Aaron Rodriguez, something like that. Yeah. I think I went to school with Aaron Lomas, actually. Fuck.
Shout out
Aaron Rodriguez. You killed some motherfuckers, didn't you? You know, it happened with him. He shot some, like, it was, the documentary was insane.
Yeah.
But it's like, he had CTE. And it's like, it's brain damage.
Yeah.
It's brain damage that
Literally
that
what it is.
causes like violent outbursts and things of that nature. So how much of that is like, it's a tricky topic, but how much of that is he not responsible for? But it's just a result of brain damage in the same way dementia and Alzheimer's and things of that nature are. You know what I mean? Like
There's almost like an element of
forgetfulness or whatever the symptoms of those kind of
yeah,
brain diseases are.
yeah. But there's almost an element of like, were they gonna do that regardless?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, true. That's interesting. It's like the kind of person who's led to play such a physically demanding sport. Yeah, like how much of that comes from their penchant to want to attack people? Yeah,
Like there's
man.
that
Obviously, the
WWE
variables.
wrestler, Chris, can't remember his fucking name.
Chris,
Just that's his first name.
just Chris.
Chris Benoit.
Chris from the WWE.
Chris Benoit.
Okay.
He killed his wife and his children. He was on steroids. I
I think I
wonder.
remember hearing about that.
I wonder if he would have done
Christmas.
that. Was it at Christmas?
I don't know. I just feel like I'm having like,
It could have been. I'm pretty sure it was off season. But I wonder if he would have done that if he wasn't slammed on his head so much from like the sport.
you wonder, man. Like you wonder, like, and if that's the case, what do you do with that? Like, if it's a reaction to brain damage, how do you prosecute? Like, obviously, you can't have those people. If someone's got the inclination to do that, they can't be in society. But also, how guilty are they?
Yes.
To put it bluntly, you know, like how much of that is reacting off of brain damage, and what does that mean in terms of a guilty verdict? It's murky.
There's a lot of murky shit going on in the world right now.
Yeah, man.
Fucking hell. Dude, I think we should wrap this shit up.
Yeah, bro. We've been going a minute. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Dude, this has been really, really fun.
Yeah, bro.
This has been really fun.
Yeah.
Had some cool topics. So how can people get in touch with you?
Man, the best way is just all my socials. Marksman Lloyd, Marksman Sharpshooter Lloyd, like LLOYD. YouTube, Spotify, Insta, TikTok, all of the platforms. You know, I'm independent. Everything coming out is coming out through my own socials.
Perfect.
And that's the best way to find me.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been a fucking pleasure. Can we do this shit again?
100%, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
No, it's good.
Really, and also, bro, like, it's dope what you're doing in Perth. Specifically, Perth needs stuff like this, and it's cool to see someone doing it at an elite level. So props to you.
Thank you very much. Well, it all goes back on the artists that I'm able to facilitate having on the podcast, and without artists like yourself, this wouldn't be possible. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Roadshow. Thank you for joining us this evening. You know the jam. Subscribe, like, and share. If you enjoy the podcast, that's all I ask. Good night.
Peace.
Take me home, I wanna know if you're down, ready to go. Wanna fly away with you, float away, fly